No.
Press it.
There we are.
All right. Well,
And
DJ
we're
Rex speaking. I think that might be the new intro. Wow, we gave Luke
Wow.
And you're fired.
We gave Luke one
Why?
job. We gave Luke one job this time, and that was press the buttons.
I'll take
DJ
accountability for
Rex,
that.
And within less than 30 seconds, demolished.
Well, hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where we debate takes so hot they'd melt a planet with twin suns. My name is Brian, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Amanda, Luke, and Alanis to debate where this episode ranks amongst all Star Wars content. And we've finally done it. We've defeated the Bad Batch. They're all dead. Thank goodness. Good
In
riddance.
my heart.
Yeah,
No,
they
I'm-
dead, but they're dead to me.
Dead to Amanda already.
Wow.
Do you want to give us your synopsis?
Yeah, all right. In this action-packed finale, the Bad Batch splits up to achieve multiple objectives within the Tantus base. As they navigate through the base, they encounter various challenges, including encounters with clone assassins and the release of a dangerous Zillo Beast clone. Omega leads a daring escape plan involving fellow prisoners, while Hunter, Crosshair, and Wrecker face capture and reconditioning at the hands of Dr. Hemlock. With the help of allies like Dr. Carr and former clone troopers, they stage a dramatic rescue, culminating in a showdown with Hemlock. Despite facing significant threats, the team succeeds in liberating Omega and the other prisoners, destroying Hemlock's research, and escaping Tantus space. They regroup on Pabu Island, reflecting on their newfound freedom and contemplating their futures.
I will say, during this episode, the entire time, I was like, oh my gosh, Amanda might be right. Are these actually about to be Crosshair clones? Because the one shot in the episode, like towards the very end, when all of the like Hemlock's clones are coming out of their pods, we just see the bald head, and I was like, Amanda! I was like, she was right. She's an oracle. And then I was like, oh. But
then it was nobody. It was the same person as Mara.
Literally nobody.
As always, we're reminded that we are better writers than everyone up at Disney, and our ideas are always going to be way better than whatever they come up with. But no, honestly, I would say my first impression is that I was blown away. It kind of did the Last Jedi thing and said, all these questions that you were asking them for the wrong reasons. And we're here to tell a story about these characters and finish it off so that what other crazy fan fiction projects you want to have going, whatever the, Echo and Rex thing is going to be, that can be its own thing. I'm glad that they wrapped Bad Batch up with its own identity so that the rest of the Clone Rebellion can kind of do its own thing.
no, you're absolutely right. And the fact that, because during the whole episode, Alanis and I were just like, because we were watching it together, I was like, we both looked at each other and go, are they really going to Rogue One this? Like, literally, all the aesthetics were like, okay, so we're in the end game again.
Mm-hmm.
They're all limping. Die. They're all fractured, and
as soon as Nala does,
the rain.
Yeah, but no, the rain. But it also, if you think about it, it also lines up to Camino.
Mm-hmm.
Like the aesthetic of Camino during that last thing is so telling from a story. Well, that and just it raining and storming, and like it's so poetic to have the first shot be the same as like the last shot. At least on Camino anyway.
See, my point to Brian's is that is my one criticism of this finale. I think it did a beautiful job of explaining the story of the Bad Batch, which is the point of the show.
Yes.
But Star Wars has this funny little thing where they add in all of these fan service moments and then do nothing with them. Like, where is Cody? What the hell is Cody doing? Why even bring Cody back if we're just not going to follow up on that? He went AWOL. What does that mean?
I think I truly okay. So here's what I think. They're gonna leave those stories in that new book that's coming out.
Oh, a book.
But say that.
It's gonna be it's called Secrets of the Clones. It's just like the Secrets of the Sith and Secrets of the Jedi books.
Oh.
Oh,
Wow. So I'll
okay.
actually, will I have to read this, or is there going to be some form of?
You can probably read a review from Star Wars Explained doing it. But
Okay,
like,
I love that.
I will get it because there was also a Secrets of the Bounty Hunters as well. It's more of like a
Ooh.
kids thing, but it also like for Secrets of the Sith, it was Sidious, like a point of view from Sidious talking about the Sith. Whereas
But I thought those were non-canon
because
because
they are canon. What are you talking about?
Are they like that weird pseudo canon kind of area?
yeah, because then the Jedi one is definitely not canon because they
Honestly,
mentioned
I love.
Padawan plants, but
I'm
Padawan what?
more for the like looser canon based things. Like we're
Yeah.
talking about already a fantastical like world that doesn't exist and has like mythic stories and passed down like generations. Like let there be some like mysticism to it all.
agreed to a point. I think like with these stories with Cody and now whatever Rex is doing, I think when they are so introduced on screen only, you gotta end their stories on screen. It's like it's the
Yeah.
same. It's the same fight that everyone had with Ventress. Oh, actually, that's another great plot point.
Mhm. But I mean,
They said they were going to explain how she lived. How?
well, they did. They said they wouldn't contradict the book. Is really all they said. So in my the way I saw it was that, oh, you're supposed to just go back and look at the book and say, oh, I guess when she goes down into the waters at the end, like that's actually what she does when she comes back and becomes rebaptized in that episode on
Clone Wars?
yeah, in the Clone Wars. Yeah, I went back and rewatched that in preparation for Tales of the Empire, which is going to be sick. I hope. When Ventress goes back to become a Night Sister again, she goes through this like baptism process. She goes all the way under the green water, and that's all that's all that Quinlan Vos and Obi-Wan do at the end of the book is throw her in a lake. So like, I don't know. They're basically just saying, yeah, it's been there the whole time. You guys just weren't looking.
But to my still point is like, even if Dark Disciple like didn't exist, right? It just like went away. There is still, I think, so much question of like, okay, like what is like what? Okay, we have Ventress. Why? Like,
what is?
Make a rando character instead of Ventress for that episode.
Cody was married.
Yeah, honestly, at this point,
got super merricked. Yeah, by the clone assassins not being anyone. Yeah, I mean,
honestly,
that was
I don't mind. I think that's we deserve to have characters that aren't like deep lore, like
Agreed.
I think that's
like
kind of
guy?
It's like holding up a mirror
Sword
to
guy
us as
Sword
fans,
guy
being
was
like, look how desperate you were to see like the most insane glup shitto you've ever imagined.
Oh,
know, like
Knights of Red level glup shittos.
Well,
no, but
it's like they were really, really, really interesting though. Like when those guys showed up, I was like, wait, did he just literally take the Bad Batch and
but also
them?
like why did Hemlock only deploy one of them when he needed his like mission accomplished the first time, and he was sitting on like a whole crew of them?
It's Star Wars. What, you don't show your whole hand? Come on now. Like, and it's also the Empire. Like we keep forgetting. Like these guys are stupid.
I really think that he only deployed one of them because the ultimate goal was to draw the Bad Batch there.
Yes.
Because he could take these already specialized clones and then just like supercharge them. Just like take every,
Yeah.
So I think that is like maybe possibly an explanation for that.
He also says that he knew that they were going to do this eventually. It was just a matter of time. So that was going to be part of his plan regardless. But no, I this, for all of the Star Wars that we've been getting lately, I feel like this stuck the landing.
Yeah. I mean, Andor hasn't ended. That's the only reason that's not.
I need
the same discussion together.
Can I cook now?
Yes.
Are you gonna allow me to
Sure,
to cook?
Go for it.
Got 30 seconds.
Okay, so like, so I thought that this was a really great episode of The Bad Batch, like one of the best episodes of The Bad Batch, but it felt like it should have been like the season 1 finale of The Bad Batch, because ultimately nothing changed within the world of Star Wars, within this storytelling aspect. It's already such a overtold like era of Star Wars content. Like we have plenty already, and we're just checking in with like another like deep dive microscope view of like a certain set of clones, you know, not like any real interactions with Jedi, which is fine. We don't need Jedi to have good Star Wars, right? But whatever happened between season 1 through 3 made no impact on the trajectory of any other story. And the biggest the biggest disappointment is like the Chekhov's gun of it all, which is we even got like Echo giving Omega this really dope new like crossbow. She never uses it.
Yeah, I was kind of mad about that.
Like what? That is like storytelling like 101. Like you need to make the weapon go off. There's just too many, like it felt like it was really heavily alluding to Omega is going to help lead the path of like a safe passage for the children of the Force, but they just wouldn't say that outright, or they wouldn't like cue anyone in that that's actually where they're trying to go, and like try to merge these fandoms or people that are fans of the books or like other areas a bit more. It just didn't go anywhere.
It hasn't gone anywhere yet.
I don't think
Yeah, but it's the finale. It's over now.
So I agree with Amanda to a point, because for me, this did not feel like a series finale if the epilogue was not there.
Yeah.
If the epilogue was not included, I would have come in here with a much lower ranking.
I didn't think the episode was over. I thought it was going to be a scouring of the Shire kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think for me, even with Omega, yes, season 3 is like really when I think we get the true flavor of her. And like, yes, it is because she has grown up more. Yes, it is because she has matured more. But seasons 1 and 2, I feel like were very heavily focused on the clones, on the boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
While Omega was more of like a sprinkled side piece. Like, you know, like it felt like we were trying to get to know all of these clones in a, you know, one season kind of chunk, when we're so used to having, you know, 7 seasons to get to know the clones in the Clone Wars. So by the time we get to season 3, finally the writers are like, Omega. And then we lose out on the characterization of the Bad Batch that we've gotten so used to getting.
Yeah.
And then it brings up the stupid age-old arguments of like, oh, Star Wars is putting a woman. Nah. Like it when I see things like this, it just makes me so incredibly angry, because I feel like there's so many things in Star Wars that if someone just thought for 3 seconds, just had a little bit of forethought, looked at the history books, I think a lot of, you know, these trends would stop happening. I think for me, that ending, however long that epilogue was, that made it. I also will say Crosshair and his hand, that blew my mind. I did not expect so cool. That was dark.
I loved
Be more
that.
careful
That
with your shooting hand. I also, as a side note, as Luke and I were watching it, I actually said out loud, I'm like, wow, they got like good at editing this episode.
Yeah.
Because the cuts were so sharp, so clean. And, you know, something that I will credit the writing with, even though I think it left a lot of loose ends, this episode cut out a lot of the what I like to call like stupid dialogue. Yep. Like, you don't need to tell me you're going to the kitchen. Just show me you walking to the kitchen. You know, don't show, not tell, you know?
Yeah.
And I think with the cuts and how dramatic, they really nailed it. And I think with a lot of episodes that this season, you know, knowing that it was they had limited time to tell this story. I would have wished they utilized more of that editing throughout.
So to counteract Amanda's point a little bit, pushback. So
Yeah, I've never disagreed harder with Amanda on anything.
All right, so not everything needs to connect. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
And here's the thing. That story is not over.
Says who?
It was the series finale.
It felt, but we're gonna see these characters again. They don't just tell you that Omega's going to the rebellion and gonna be a pilot and leave that dangling. That's gonna be
How long did we leave Ezra in wherever?
That's Ezra.
Years. He was the title character.
It doesn't matter.
And it was space whales for years.
But also, why couldn't we have just gotten that story then? Like, or
yeah, let's do
tell
that.
The bigger,
next.
grander
Tales
story.
of the Rebellion. Tales of the Rebellion is the next one I want to see, with some Hera and Omega training together, being pilots in the rebellion, clone rebellion stuff.
So you will I think that's a good avenue to put that in, absolutely. But there's going to be another animated show, and I think that the Bad Batch set it up perfectly. For either Age of Rebellion, like whatever they're going to do, Tales of the Rebellion, or they're going to give Omega, Hera that shine.
But that counteracts your point of nothing has to connect.
Well, nothing has to connect. Not everything.
Well, that's genuine. That's a huge connection. That's literally a connection.
That's literally betting that all of those lines connect through, and and
they already kind of do, but I mean, we're just saying it would
we
be cool
don't
to see
need
that
it anymore. We don't need it.
I would love to see that. I don't know. I'd love to see Hera meet Kanan for the first time and fall in love.
Personally,
and all that stuff.
My prediction for Tales of the Rebellion, and I even though this is my brand online, because he has been shown on not one but two covers now, I genuinely think Tales of the Rebellion will be Agent Kallus. I do. I think it'll be Agent Kallus.
He's the best character.
But he is genuinely correct. And I think that possibly could be where we see Omega, because that would be a draw in with the clones, because they had that episode with Kallus and Rebels talking with all of them with Rex. So that, if we're talking about connection, I think I would personally like. I don't know what I
love that idea of it being more of like, oh, it's about this like tertiary character, but they are looped into like the connection.
Yeah. So, and that's something I think Rebels does really good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Luke.
and I mean, here's the thing. Like, yes, I did just say that not everything has to, and then I contradicted myself. but like, I think the main thing here is that if you look at it, it doesn't seem to me like it is like a goodbye. It's like a see you later.
Yeah,
that's literally how I feel, because it's like the batch. Like, I feel like if Omega's going to be on her own, and that's the whole point. That was the whole point of the whole series. Was the second episode of the first season. What's his face? They're on the planet. Come on, it's gonna come to me. It's the guy that abandoned the abandoned clone.
Oh, Cutler Quain.
Cutler Quain tells Hunter that he's eventually going to have to let her go and let her do her thing, because that's just how it happens.
Second episode,
second episode. It takes him up until this point, and he even says, I'm still struggling with this, but I'm willing to let go. And I think that's a big thing that is missed throughout this whole thing. There's an arc that in and of itself that we really weren't paying attention to.
Well, they didn't really shine the flashlight on much.
They didn't. But I think that was kind of the point, because you had three other members to kind of get into as well.
Yeah.
So it's a tough thing with those guys. And I mean, the only gripe I would really have, why didn't we get old Crosshair or Hunter?
That would have been cool to see.
Yeah,
just walking with a cane.
I don't know. I think it was good that Hunter got that moment to himself. I think because we've been saying that all season, that he hasn't gotten to see the spotlight in a while, and he's supposed to be like the leader of the Bad Batch, right? So this episode really, Hunter got to shine more than anything, and I thought that was a good way to kind of wrap it all up, especially tying it in thematically with the beginning of the show like that. I thought that was pretty cool. And I haven't felt stakes like this in a Star Wars project since like Last Jedi. Seriously. Like that's why I gave the story a 5, was just the whole time I was like, any of them could die. But then by the end, it just becomes the most happy, wholesome ending possible. And I just feel like such a cynical old fart for like wanting death and destruction in the first place. When really Crosshair redeems himself and he actually gets to like live with the reward, you know, which is what everyone wanted to see in Ben Solo.
I will say the one thing that I do appreciate with, you know, Crosshair getting his hand cut off, as morbid as that seems. I think a lot of times with Imperials who later turned to rebellion or First Order to resistance, whatever, that they kind of do it without consequence. And that was one of the things that I loved and why I was so attached to, as I bring it up again, Agent Callus, was because he got the shit kicked out of him by Thrawn. Like,
deservedly so, you know?
Yeah, like, he got bodied. Rightfully so. Like, Kanan smashed him through a glass thing. Rightfully so. Like, and what I like about Crosshair is his brothers obviously were never going to do that to him. And I think Crosshair would have continued on harboring that guilt of, we lost Tech, we lost this. He lost what took away Tech, if you really think about it. And now at the end of the day, every time he looks down, he's like, I paid it back. I paid my debt back to Tech. I paid my debt back to Omega. I can move on. Actually,
and he had even said, like, he was like, I'm gonna go back and get her because we're not gonna make it out together. And I'm like, I have to pay this due and make it right.
Yeah. Didn't he literally say, I deserve it?
Yeah.
That energy. I was just like, I looked at Atlantis and I go, why?
I was like,
why? Why? You really do be like each other. Like,
I will say,
someone who struggles with the guilt complex myself. Yeah, that hit me pretty hard.
I will say the one thing I was kind of shocked with, you know, everyone making it out was I forget which exact episode number, but it shows at the very end Crosshair looking out and there's a single shot of like a bird of some sort. I would have placed real life money on that being some sort of illusion that he was the lone one to live or would be the lone one to die. Yeah, because every time we see like a singular bird flying, typically if we're thinking, you know, back to Clone Wars and Ahsoka, it's like, we should pay attention to that bird.
Yeah.
That bird
symbolic
never came
birds.
Back. Yeah, it was just like a symbolic bird, but also not just symbolic because Crosshair doesn't wind up alone.
Not symbolic. Everything means something in Star Wars.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know.
As much as I am pro as much death as possible in Star Wars, I did feel satiated by how much they got their asses kicked. Like they were losing, and it was hard. Like it became painful to watch, and I was like, I was stressed out, and I'm glad that it got me to at least that part emotionally. And because you said it too, I felt like at any point I could lose them all. Another thing I need to complain about is what happened to the Zilla Beast?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He's off to kick Palpatine's ass. He's going straight to Palpatine.
Well, the funny part about it is that Kylo Ren in The Rise of Kylo Ren actually kills a Zilla Beast.
Oh my god!
I don't know if it's the same one.
So I have a lot of feelings about the Zilla Beast.
The Zilla Beast, I love the fact they were like, you know what? We're gonna use this as a plot point, and then he's gonna say, "Deuces, I've been stuck here
like, I'm out of here.
4 years now. I'm out of here. Screw you guys."
And then it wasn't a part of the rest of the thing. It was just like, oh, I guess he just escaped.
I love that.
Hated the Zilla Beast since they brought it back.
What?
because here's my thing with the Zillow Beast. In Clone Wars, it was super cool. It was super fun. And yes, I get it. Dave wanted to finish the storyline of what was Palpy doing with the Zillow Beast. And Tantus beautifully clears up that plot hole. It does. I will give that to him. But the fact that it was just used in such a stupid way, it felt just like fan service, but not even fan service I wanted to see. Like that diversion could have been literally anything else. Like literally anything else. She could have like broken a water tube. There's literally so many things. Like,
or at least like have them ride the Zillow Beast out of there. Like let it be a bigger point.
Yes,
you know?
But here's the bigger thing out of all of this. We're still back at square one because we're back where we started, Dave. It's just roaming around Tantus, I guess. What's the difference between it roaming around wherever it was before after Coruscant?
It just goes to show you that the Empire again does not care. It shouldn't have taken the rebellion as long as it did, because if they would have been like realistic and looked at like how the Empire mishandles a lot of operations, it should have been a writing on the wall from like at least year 3. Like, oh, dude, there's no way they can. If we all come together, like, no way. These guys are dumb. We steal their crafts. They get the cheapest things. Like, they don't even put a hyperdrive and a TIE fighter until the Resistance era. Mm-hmm. Like, shouldn't we put more hyperdrive? No, because they want to be cheap asses. That's literally it. Like, the Empire should have been defeated way before it had even begun. The only reason why they didn't was because of Vader and Tarkin and
Project Stardust.
Oh,
I was gonna
say,
speaking of the Empire, though, I think we need to shine a little bit of a light on Hemlock, because as a character, wow,
he was at like Thrawn level of like
yes.
A level below.
I don't know. I still think he doesn't really do anything except he does science. Like he's creepy. He's good.
But we don't.
Wow, say that to all of the scientists of the world.
Science is easy. No, science is
creepy.
Good.
Creepy in Star Wars is hard to do.
And that's my thing with Hemlock.
It's
been horror from the beginning. There's monsters. Star Wars is monsters.
But I think what I really liked about Hemlock is it did psychological horror.
Yes.
Because we really don't get that in Star Wars. Like, yes, we get a little bit of like horror elements with the Night Sisters in Clone Wars. We see a little touch of it in Rebels, but we really don't see any of this more mystical, magical side of it.
Creepy side of it.
Yeah, creepy side of it.
Yeah,
and
creepy.
Hemlock he did it for me. And it was just great.
Can we also talk about Rampart and how he
yes, that was going to be a higher point for me when it came to characters. I'm glad that he ended up remaining like a piece of crap to the end, and it wasn't like a redemption arc. Like, wow, it's so inspiring to see all these clones like come together for something greater. And the Empire is terrible, but he was just a slimy, like power hungry. And then we got Nala Se to freaking get a kill.
Yeah,
I was hoping she would pick up a blaster and start pew pew, but
it was so poetic though, because Rampart's whole thing is I'm gonna grovel back to where I was kicked away, and I'm gonna use this as leverage to get back to power. Like, bro, we're talking about Palpatine. You're gonna bring him this knowledge. He's gonna say, "Hey, thanks," and kick you straight back in the face. Like, I don't understand how people don't think of Palpatine and like how they can outsmart him. Like, there is no outsmarting the Emperor who took down the Jedi, the Republic, and also the Separatist faction in all in one swipe. Like, dude, you're not smart. You're not smarter than him.
And then he sat on his butt and did nothing for 30 years. But
well, 19. He was like, dude, I'm just gonna go out and do cis shit, dude. That's literally what
I want to see that cis shit. I want to see it.
He will, like, I mean, if you read
I
If you
don't
read
read.
Tarkin, Thrawn,
They don't
like,
read.
go listen. I cannot recommend. Alanis doesn't like.
I'm getting through Red Rising right now.
Well, that's how I consume a lot of the media.
Mm-hmm.
The Alliance Thrawn books with Palpatine. Palpatine's not as prominent in the first one, but he's a little bit in the second one.
Palpatine is not prominent barely at all. Like,
well,
you could.
He's in the third. He's very much in the third one, is he?
No,
not?
if you were to collect the pages he's in the third one, and like if you were to put Palpatine's presence in Thrawn, rip out the pages, it would maybe be 10 out of the first trilogy.
Really?
He's just like
a lot more.
No, he's just like a cherry on top.
They need him in the third Jedi game for sure. That's my. They needed him for the second one. It was a missed opportunity. But
other thing.
Oh, go ahead, Alanis.
I was gonna say I wanted to touch on the music.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because Kiner music has just absolutely crushed it, blown it out of the park. I think the just general like drama that it added to this episode made some of the weaker writing points and weaker kind of just plot points so much stronger.
Yeah. Definitely.
Kind of like how George Lucas does it, or no, not George Lucas. John Williams does it with a lot of the. And I mean, I think it's fair to say that Kiner might be the future of Star Wars music. Are we willing to have that?
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I would support that.
I support that.
Yeah, I'd be totally happy with that.
Heck yeah! I got a Roger. No, because they understand. It's not just him. It's his family that's also doing it as well. Yeah, they understand what Star Wars is musically, and I think, and I love that because I saw a quote on Twitter about they asked him about if he knows anything about season 2, and he goes, "I don't want to know anything. I want to watch it for the first time and come up with things on the fly." That's how we get a lot of these awesome themes, because it's from what he sees on screen or what they see on screen. It just works. And I feel like John Williams is also kind of that way as well.
I don't know. I would say Kevin Kiner has an even wider range than John Williams, maybe. Like you see, I guess it's all the Kiners. But I mean, with this project specifically, like we've kind of given it a lot of praise for having this synthesized kind of identity, kind of like Andor or Blade Runner, very classic sci-fi. But the moments that have been most impactful for me are like the really heavy classical moments, like the reunion in episode 3, and then like this entire episode pretty much. Like, I don't know how you can not give the music a perfect score, as well as like the characters for this episode to me. Gives each of them the appropriate amount of weight, and you just want each of them to live so badly, and then they do. Like, who expected that? No, and we all thought someone was gonna eat it.
I'm glad Nala Say died.
I was so annoyed by her voice at the.
I was like, why is she gonna walk so slow too? Like, come on.
I swear her voice got slower as the season progressed.
Maybe that's
like, you don't have to also walk slow. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, she's the only element that kind of took me out of this episode, if I'm being honest. But like, other than that, the characters are great. I gave the story. I guess we're doing like ratings by 0.5s, and I accidentally gave it a 4.9, which I guess I'll round up to a perfect 5 for the story and for the technical aspects and the characters and the music for me. Everything but the immersive universe. I honestly thought the immersive universe, they like, considering they didn't force in this Avengers Endgame kind of like on your left with like Hondo Anaka and Hera and like Caleb Doom and like all these other like people in the first couple seasons. Like, I'm glad that they didn't force that. Like, I don't know, a lot of people wanted to see that in the Rise of Skywalker, see all these Force ghosts, but then they complain. No one appreciates the fact that we did get the actual voices. Like, that was, sorry, I'm on my Rise of Skywalker tangent again.
right.
Had to get it out there. I had to defend, take one swing.
I just wanted to take a chance to say, like, my favorite part of the episode was at the end when Hemlock is holding Omega hostage, and Hunter and Crosshair are there, and Crosshair is newly disabled, like, and is now
Amputated.
shooting. Yeah. And the way that they're both like kind of leaning on each other and supporting each other to like get the shot right. And like, who is it? Hunter doesn't want to take the shot, but Crosshair's like, she's not a child. Or no, it was reversed.
Crosshair.
Yeah,
Crosshair.
Yeah.
Crosshair wasn't. Yeah. Crosshair
And
wasn't
Omega was just like on her game. She knew her brothers knew what she was thinking, and the like perfect execution of it. It made me really emotional. It made me really excited to see Crosshair and Hunter have that really close moment. And yeah, I just felt so like proud of Omega. She was like so grown and so level-headed, leading those kids through that whole thing. And it was funny because Hemlock kept on talking about how he could anticipate the clones, but Omega was able to get so far because she was able to also anticipate so much of their moves, which I think also again sets up to that path story. Or I imagine that's going to be, if I had to guess what the next animated series like subject matter is going to be about, that's what I would put it on.
You would do the path. Would you do that or the
it does with it does with like Jedi Survivor. It brings in like Obi-Wan Kenobi, it brings back Ventress, like all of these looser connections.
I think you're probably right on that, because you don't just show Ventress and you don't just show the younglings, and we know Quinlan's still alive.
Yep.
We know that relationship. Let's be real here. If we saw that on that reunion on screen after what happened in Dark Disciple, that's pretty powerful. That's something that you don't keep in a book. That's something that you do animated style. And we all have to remember, Dark Disciple was supposed to be a 8-episode arc in season 6 of the Clone Wars.
Right. Oh yeah, I'm still sad we didn't see that.
So was Bad Batch. The Bad Batch was going to be the Bad Batch arc was going to be them on Kashyyyk.
If you haven't seen the unedited masters online, oh my goodness, they are so funny.
Well, doesn't it go? Well, it's what they did remastered for season 7, and then they also but they did animate Kashyyyk though. With the Bad Batch.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's some fan animations out there of some of those reels too that are really good. One with like the really good dialogue between Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah. The Utapau.
Yeah, and Utapau.
Utapau with getting the Kyber crystal that's eventually going to be the Death Star.
Yeah, so some fans have kind of continued those projects and animated them. So that's cool. But as far as like if I don't know if I would rather see that like the Jedi Survivor plot line, with the path and everything, because we kind of know where that ends up. And I don't know where it feels like in every single one of these projects, they're pulling their punches a little bit. And I don't know if it's because they don't know what they're doing or they don't know what to plan, or because because so many of them have fallen through, especially in the gaming world. So many of these projects just don't see the light of day, that maybe they haven't committed to any of them until they want to hear the feedback from the fans about what kinds of stories they want to see. So
I'll be honest, like I don't ever think we're gonna see like Cal Kestis in any type of animated or live action. I genuinely do not think Star Wars, like beyond like an Easter egg, are going to bring in the video games. That's not because they don't care about them. They obviously make a lot of money, but if you really think about it, while gamers are a big community, they are not like an essential, like huge part of like the breed, like of no, like if you think of in like returning content, a lot of the people who are like, I'm a big Star Wars gamer, you're playing Battlefront, that's an old game. You're playing the Republic, you're playing the Republic Commandos, that's an old game. Like you're playing KOTOR, that's an old game. Like you're not bringing in any new money, so they're not gonna keep pulling back. And because those games, they don't make any money off of them, why would they bring more attention?
So they make some new dang games. Yeah, they're gonna.
Yeah, like I just
Outlaws.
I don't think that the market is wide enough for them to bring that in there. I don't think that it's an avenue that they're really trying to draw more of a market into, because let's honestly be real. I don't think anyone is buying a console for a Star Wars game.
I did.
Maybe that's my hot take. Maybe that's my hot take.
So,
but
No,
I would agree
Not
with
anymore.
you.
They aren't.
They were.
They
When
were.
that first Battlefront game came out, it was like, hey, we got the special Darth Vader PS4, and I wish I would have gotten that, but I didn't. But whatever. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I could see him being in animation though. I think that's easier to do. Live action.
Yeah.
Cameron Monaghan, he would probably do it for less money in live action. But let's be real here. It's easier for them to animate him because they already have like animation
all
from
that
game
moped.
to like actual animation isn't all that tough.
Mhm.
They have the stacks. They don't have to start from the ground up. Like I think that if you're gonna do a path, that's how you connect it. Because live action, when you take the whole scheme of things, it's live action, animation, books, video games, and comics are all in that same tier.
Tertiary character.
And I don't see a character like Cal Kestis going straight from video game to live action.
Yeah,
I see him
that makes
doing
sense.
the easier progression is from video game to animation.
Yeah.
And if it tests well,
Mhm.
then maybe live action. But again, I'm with Alanis here. Like it's a hard thing to sell because I'd say maybe what would you say percentage wise would be like video games?
Oh, I'm terrible at math and numbers.
Maybe like 10%.
But I honestly, I don't even think it's a matter of like money and things like that. At the end of the day, I think like we need to decide: do we want these projects to be old characters or new characters?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and Outlaws is
you
taking
know?
a new character, and then everyone's upset that it's a woman or whatever, like.
Yep, but then
Yeah.
you replace, her with, oh god, I don't even know, Fennec Shand. Well, it's another woman, but
Bosk.
But yeah, with Bosk, whatever.
Bosk. You get to play as a
You play as Bosk,
I
right?
hate Bosk.
Then it's okay. Then you have that. Then you have like, oh, is this, do we need another Bosk story? Well, we could have done this character.
Yeah.
So
The what if game.
yeah, so I think it's up in the air for me on my true feelings about it, because let's be real, if someone came up to me today and was like, Agent Callus is coming to live action,
Oh my God,
I would probably jump off a balcony. But like if someone came up to me and was like, I can't even think of like an animated characters. I can't even think of it. What's an only animated character? Kanan. There you go. Oh no, but I love Kanan. Senator Chuchi. Senator Chuchi. There we go. If I got a live action Senator Chuchi in Andor, I would just be like,
cool.
Yeah. So it's hard when you have,
Mhm.
specific characters that you adore so
Yeah,
heavily.
and I think in general we're pretty worn down by cameos, and that really shows in this season. Like Fennec's the closest thing to a cameo, like maybe Ventress, unless they take it somewhere more concrete. But I'm very glad they made Omega a rebel pilot. I think that's just like the best ending for her. Hunter says we can do whatever we want, kid, and that's what she chose to do. That's so freaking cool. I love that for her.
And the fact that
it honors Tech too.
Yeah,
Tech taught her how to fly.
So, but like, here's the other thing though. It's the overarching thing of the clones. They were forced to fight the Clone Wars. They were forced into working with the Empire. It's all about making choices now.
Mhm.
And none of the clones had really had that. And she was able to take fate into her own hands.
Mhm.
And that's what she wants to do. And I think that's very poetic for what we are from Clone Wars season 1 all the way to this point. And I think that's a part that I feel like sometimes gets missed.
Yeah, so real quickly, actually, before we get into our hot takes, do y'all want to do just like a quick off-the-cuff ranking for the animated series? I guess we'll just do the 3 good ones. No shade.
No, okay. I haven't seen Resistance, so
Resistance is top. Resistance is top.
Okay, but this is my ranking just to set the bar. Rebels, Clone Wars, Tales of the Jedi, Bad Batch.
Ooh,
Oh
wow.
no. Tales of the Jedi, Visions, Bad Batch.
Really?
It's
You
animated.
hated Bad Batch? You hate it? You hate it so much?
I didn't hate it, but all
Wow.
of the other ones are just better.
Amanda just detests the Bad Batch. She just wants pain and suffering. She doesn't
So,
like
okay,
happy
where does it
endings.
rank for you,
All right.
Brian?
For me, okay, I still definitely got to put Rebels first. But like beat for beat, I'd still put Bad Batch above Clone Wars because Clone Wars just has so much. People only remember the good stuff, and they don't forget more than half of it is skippable. 25% of that is like unwatchable. So like Bad Batch beat for beat, I think is a far superior show. And I don't really want to put Tales of the Jedi or Visions kind of in these rankings because they're both two very different approaches. Like I think Tales of the Jedi might be the best made, even better than the Bad Batch, if I'm being honest. But also I think maybe and I'll save this for my hot takes. Never mind. And then Visions, of course, is incredible for the most part. I know there's a lot of that's pretty forgettable as well. But there's a lot of cool stuff in it, so that's how I'd put it, I guess.
Alanis, you go.
Oh, I already know. Yeah, I have a feeling your ranking, but agreed. And the Rebels camp, easy.
All right.
Because of Thrawn and
Yeah.
Callus.
Because of
Yeah.
Callus.
Yeah.
And
I will say though, Clone Wars is my second. I was raised on Clone Wars, born and bred Clone Wars. And to me, because there's
we're
so
born
much
and bred. Sorry though.
In the Clone Wars, yes. I think for me, I have so much nostalgia around it that I can't even like look at the unwatchable parts. Like I can, from a critical eye, look at it and be like, "Oh my god, this droid arc is horrific." But when I watch it, I'm like, "Haha, this is so bad." So for me, like Clone Wars is always going to be up there. Bad Batch is a third. I adore Crosshair. And I think as a whole, fantastic. Tales, because I didn't like that they added Ahsoka.
Oh.
I think it should have been another Jedi. We have so much Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Could have been literally anyone else. Give me Plo Koon.
Qui-Gon.
Agree.
Yeah, Qui-Gon.
We did get Qui-Gon.
Yeah, but not enough.
We did.
Yeah, not enough.
True.
And then Visions.
Mm-hmm.
I am gonna add Resistance because I have seen it. Rebels, Clone Wars, it's gonna be very similar to Atlantis's. Like almost beat to beat. But I would put I actually like what saves Tales of the Jedi for me is Dooku stuff. Dooku stuff is better than half of the Clone Wars in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just because of the lore and the backstory that we get for the big plans that happen. By the way, that Living Force book that just came out, banger.
Oh yeah,
banger. Yariel Poof is in my top 5 because he doesn't give a shit about anybody anymore.
Does he?
Poof?
Yariel Poof.
Yariel Poof. The
Yariel
super
Poof.
white kind of looks like a Kaminoan.
No, yes, kind of looks like Kaminoan. He literally, there's a part where he like his whole monologue is, "I am so old, I need to get like to make it other people's problems." That's his whole thing.
Nice.
But no, so I'd go Rebels, Clone Wars, Tales of the Jedi, Bad Batch, Resistance, Visions.
Oh,
nice.
Okay. Wow. Well, it seems like I'm the Bad Batch's biggest defender. Honestly, like I guess my thesis on this on this season is that it does feel like they initially had planned to put a lot more in it, and then they said, "Hey, let's focus on this story." So they kind of spread whatever they could across 15 episodes.
Speaking of that, just before we transition, I want to pull up something that's also on the Star Wars Wikipedia page. According to Omega's voice actress Michelle Ang, Omega originally had a very different ending that would have seen the character set on a path that could have had her a major player in the Star Wars canon. Instead, however, the writers changed the ending to one she described as, quote, bittersweet. However, she expressed in a podcast interview her hope that Omega's ending would still have a great impact on the future of Star Wars storytelling. So that
Yeah.
makes it
I'm glad that it didn't.
Yeah, I'm
they
glad
had like
that-
a bigger. How do you interpret that?
I don't know. I don't trust anything she says because she was the one that said this season ends in the most devastating way.
Well, it sounds like that's what she was alluding to.
Maybe that's what she thought. Maybe they had recorded voice lines for a more tragic ending, or maybe they probably did multiple endings.
Yeah.
They just didn't know which one was the real one.
Yeah, I bet honestly it was probably a pretty tragic ending, and they went through the first round of screening, and I think genuine. No, really, no, seriously, I really hearing that was my first gut instinct. Is they ran through the first round of testing, and I don't even know if it would be the kids or the parents who'd be like, "Are you kidding me?
I want to see it release the dark cut,
the Snyder cut."
Yeah, hashtag release the dark cut.
The Snyder cut of the Bad
Let's start
Batch.
that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you all are.
Well, with that, let's get us some hot takes going.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
It is hot takes time.
You know what? I'll get
And
started
let's
if you
do
don't
it.
mind.
Not at all.
I've kind of alluded to it throughout this episode, but my hot take is that this is the most inconsequential Star Wars series to have ever come out. It's still enjoyable, but it makes no real impact in the expanded universe. And when I think about in 25 years from now, when Star Wars fans are talking about all of the great things that came out of this new era of Star Wars, the Bad Batch is not going to be on anyone's radar.
Ooh.
I know that
Such a
I
dark-
felt like I just stabbed you in the
Shot me in the
heart,
first
Ryan. I'm
out.
not gonna lie. I'm not
I
gonna lie.
I disagree with you because
But is it a hot take?
Look,
I think
Is it
it's
a
a
hot
hot
take?
take.
I think it's a
People
pretty
don't
hot
agree.
take.
I think that's pretty brutal for it.
Okay, that's all I
it's-
need. I need to know it's at least a hot
You're
take.
right that it definitely suffers prequelitis, and that it can't be, they blow up all the bad guys by the end of the show, but like also it's so distinct and establishing itself as its own era, and there's plenty of potential for spin-offs that I think they deliberately left a lot of room for further content to tie into it. And I think that Rebels kind of ends the same way, where it's like you kind of knew where it was going to end up too, but like you love the characters so much. And I'll say like, yeah, I'll put Rebels above it for that reason because I am more invested in those characters. But like, I don't think Bad Batch is by any means inconsequential because it ties in directly with Episode 9 as well. Like that's the reason why Palpatine didn't win, is because of this, because of their victory on Tantus blowing up the data. He didn't get anywhere.
I agree that it's inconsequential, but I think you're giving it a negative connotation when it doesn't need to. Because inconsequential doesn't mean negative to the story. Like if the Bad Batch was never released, the Skywalker saga would not be impacted in any way, shape, or form. Like, but that's okay. Like that's okay.
I agree.
Like, that is totally fine. Yeah, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. And I think like that's okay. That's what I love about the Bad Batch. And that's where I wind up disagreeing with Amanda, because since I think it is so inconsequential, that's what makes it special. Because it what is on the line isn't plot stakes, it's character stakes. So to enjoy Bad Batch, it's less about getting invested in the plot than it is investing the characters. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. That's how you like to consume media. But for me at least, I liked the fact that it was just a bunch of brothers and a sister running around space. And, if they got blown up in a meteor shower, guess what? It's not going to affect Luke Skywalker hanging out on Tatooine.
No.
It's just telling a smaller part of a larger story. And I think if they did a better job weaving in, little cameos and this and that, I think it might have maybe more of an impact to the average viewer. But I agree with inconsequential, but I do think it'll be lasting.
I think so too.
I got a bad feeling about this hot take.
All right,
Well
I got a
deserved,
quick one.
Amanda. Well deserved.
Might not be super hot, but I just rewatched the Siege of Mandalore last night, but the whole 4-episode arc right before the Bad Batch finished, and I think Siege of Mandalore is like so much better than all of Bad Batch season 3 combined. Like, yeah, Bad Batch season 3 is like, it's really pretty, it's really, but like, so is Siege of Mandalore. Everything that happens in that arc is so incredibly well animated, and they're able to balance this like rich character drama, tie in the Shakespearean Revenge of the Sith themes, and have this massive ground battle that's, you know, so emblematic of the Clone Wars, and like the best lightsaber duel in all of the Clone Wars, all in the same little arc. I think Siege of Mandalore is better than that. Just those 4 episodes better than all of
I
Bad
raised
Batch
you
3.
Crosshair's singular episode.
Boom. I would
Okay.
agree.
I raised you just his episode.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Which-
no,
Which
With
one?
the-
for
I believe
season
it's
Season
three?
episode 3. The one that just basically features Crosshair and Omega, like kind of working through to break out of Tantus. I think that is beautiful. Not to take away from Siege of Mandalore, but I wouldn't place it above the entirety of season 3. Now, if you said like Siege of Mandalore versus the finale,
Mhm.
I'd be like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I think anybody with
Is that pretty
a
easy
brain,
get?
yeah, with a brain and 2 eyes can say, yeah. But I think as a whole of the Bad Batch, to say that Siege of Mandalore is better than the entire series, I cannot. I don't think that's fair at all, because you're comparing a 4-episode
I would
arc
agree.
for these seasons.
Which
You would-
I'm honestly surprised that you even like presented this.
Mhm.
That just shows how much you love the Siege of Mandalore. But
Well,
really
like,
do.
and it's also like, it's Siege of Mandalore has a lot of things working for it because it's working so closely to
because it's
a lot
also
of fan
so
favorites.
good.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's not good.
But also, like we kind of talked about how Bad Batch is inconsequential, which is fine. But what made Siege of Mandalore so awesome as well is like we already know what happens. Like Anakin does turn to the dark side. Like that's inevitable. Whatever happens won't be consequential to that outcome, but it still made the stakes so much higher. And I guess like that's a great example of like why I felt like I didn't get what I emotionally was looking for out of Bad Batch
Right.
as a whole.
Fair.
Especially
But
as it goes
I
back
agree
to-
with your hot take, Brian. So
Oh,
we're kind of
okay. I'll give myself a Roger then. I'm the button king. I decide who agrees with me.
Yeah, there you go. That's a powerful tool.
Luke got his button privileges revoked.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't fast enough. My hot take is I'm glad that they didn't die. To be honest, I think seeing Star Wars kind of go back to that. Hey, let's let people survive so that maybe we can use them in other things. Or hey, let's give a redemption arc to somebody and actually have them live and deal with those consequences and actually become good out of it.
Yeah.
So I think going against the mold of having the Bad Batch, we all thought that the Bad Batch were all going to get annihilated. I thought it was so interesting that they went that opposite. They did a complete 180.
Yeah.
I have to super agree with you,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah,
No,
I
this is
also
not the ending I
agree.
wrote in my head or the one I expected.
But
Yeah.
we also
Yeah.
talked about it earlier, how like still them getting like the crap kicked out of them and like them
Yeah.
being on their like they had like 3 HP left by the end of that
Yeah.
battle.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
were
they were-
struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
they
also it kind of helps that they kept their word and Tech was dead. He stayed
Yes.
dead,
Yes.
which thank
Yeah.
God. But it also prevents them from being like, oh, now let's try to like bring this person back to life. You know, like just let people live if
Die.
you want them to live, you know. Die
Yeah.
or live. Just choose
Yeah.
one.
Choose.
Okay,
have
so do we agree it's a hot take, or is it kind of milk toast because we all agreed with
Milk
it?
toast. Milk.
Fool! Your take is milk toast.
All right, you got one, Alanis?
Yeah, mine's super quick. I got excited before and said it too early, but the Zillobeast is stupid.
Okay.
Just genuinely, I've thought this since the Clone Wars. The design of it is so stupid. It's goofy. It looks like Gumby. Like,
It's like what's it called? Randolph from Monsters Inc.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Like
Okay.
if they injected
Randall.
like Randall with like the same serum that the Green Goblin took, that's what the Zillow Beast is.
Zillow Beast.
And it's stupid. I think using it in this episode was
gosh.
stupid. I think the Zillow Beast is stupid.
That's so mean.
Anti-Zillow Beast, me.
I love the Zillow Beast.
I liked it in last week's appearance. I wish that it would have had a greater point to it.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I don't hate the Zillow Beast for being the Zillow Beast, but I didn't like that he didn't do anything for the plot. So I
He
guess
did the
I
Godzilla
guess
thing
I
in
kind
his
of
walk.
agree.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I feel bad about that. I love
Zillow Beast.
all the monsters of Star Wars, and the Zillow Beast is like something that I didn't really love in the Clone Wars, but then they made him so cool in the Bad Batch, and I thought the way he just does his thing and walks off, he opens the door for the Bad Batch. It's exactly Omega knew, or Echo knew that was Omega's plan. I thought it was really cool how they used it.
KG, you made it.
KG,
Just
yay!
for the
All right.
end.
We can go for another hour now that you're here. That's all right.
No, but next week we have a really exciting episode because we will be reviewing all of Tales of the Empire.
The whole thing.
It's gonna be
And
exciting.
guess what? I hope you guys are ready for me to gush about Vader being in 2 episodes. Oh, it's gonna be. So
Are you?
freaking
Is it gonna get like all 5s from you?
Yeah, absolutely. He just shows up, and he probably will kill Barriss. So I mean, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I think
can see it.
since you brought it up, there was a lot more death in this episode. Like there were like troopers and stuff dying in this finale of the Bad Batch, and that's what I wish it was like the whole time. You know, like I want guns set to kill, not to stun. So
Yeah.
let's hope that Tales of the Empire can deliver that.
Oh,
Travis Mitchell, how's it going, guys? Every time I don't see Zillow, I misremember it being cooler than it is. Then I see it and it isn't.
Thank you. The Zillow is cooler in our minds. The reality of the Zillow is null and void.
It's like that philosophy in like horror. Like it's almost scarier when you don't see it, when it's like not revealed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you don't know where the Zillow Beast is at. So who knows where the Zillow Beast is lurking? What other stories it could pop up in? Could be at the end of a Jedi game or at the end of Outlaws, or I don't know. The Zillow Beast is on the loose.
If the Zillow Beast comes back, I quit Star Wars.
We've also talked a little bit about what predictions for new animated series. And I think before we sign off, I think we should try to take a stab at the most ridiculous animated show that you would watch in the Star Wars world.
Oh, I'll
watch anything, but
go ahead.
Salacious B. Crumb.
I
want the adventures
What type of show is
Salacious
it?
B. Crumb. It is 100% animated, but it is done in the same style as the Legends, like Ewok show. Like I'm talking like 90s, like 80s 2D animation style. And it's in just like 10-minute little like Cartoon Network Saturday cartoon style clips. And it's just music.
Crumb size clips?
Crumb size clips. And it's like Tom and Jerry. So there's like no dialogue. It's just him just like screeching and like
sound effects. Boink, boink.
Yeah. And it's just him being a goddamn menace all around Tatooine. Like just crawling into things, just being a freak. I would watch that.
I would sign that.
I think mine's pretty similar to yours, actually. I would want a Muppets show, just a ragtag little group of Muppets. I wouldn't want to animate it. I wanted actual Muppets, just like the Muppets show, but no human beings at all. Just little goofballs doing their thing on a planet like Tatooine.
With
just
droids.
Just drinking in the middle of the day and just like wandering around the streets of Mos Eisley
immediately.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Monsters just being little goblins.
That's funny.
Love.
I'm gonna pull out of like the in my deep part of my bag. I want a Garza Flip like anthology series of her like running the bar of Tatooine and like the different people that she runs into and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go back to my Yario Poof brain. I want to see him. I want to see him and how he either survives or dies in Order 66. And if he doesn't, I want him to be the soup kitchen on the Death Star like he is in Robot Chicken.
Oh, that's where I know him from.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Oh my God, everybody is dead. I better get out of here. And then he acts like Yoda or Mace Windu. That's great.
we could combine all of these ideas into one show. Yarael Poof survives and he goes to Tatooine. He plays with a bunch of Muppets and Salacious Crumb. Boom.
It sounds like the perfect show to me.
We've nailed it. We've
side piece.
Disney is listening. Send it to Bob Iger because he's the one that makes all these decisions, right? We can blame him for everything. And Kathleen.
Yes.
Mr. David Filoni, that's for sure.
Great. Well, any super last minute thoughts? You got 40 seconds, I guess, before I got to call it at some point.
Episode percentage, the Cavalry has arrived. We ranked it at an 82.67%, which is honestly higher than, well, that's also, no. Luke, you messed it up.
Okay, no, I didn't mess up anything. Broderick forgets to tell us which ranking system we're using.
Okay, well, fix that.
Not my fault.
Fix
His
it.
fault.
Fix it.
104%. He really likes the immersive universe of this episode.
I do. It's great.
I was like, that's really high.
Oh, good.
Hold on. Wait, are you meaning fixing like?
It's got to be
like that.
Yes.
4 or 5. Oh,
okay, there we go.
All right, now we're talking.
Yeah.
Boom.
Well, with that, the final score for this last episode of the Bad Batch was a 78%, a lot higher than I think it was worth.
That is so much lower than I think it was worth. Oh my
I'm a minority here.
I thought everyone was going to give this 5s across the board. It was so perfect. But...
Well, let us know in the chat when you like and subscribe and listen to this, if you think we got it right or if you think we got it wrong, and what you loved or hated about the Bad Batch.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
don't take on the season. Drop it in our Discord. We have our Discord links all over the place. Sure, you can find it in our YouTube over there. But if not, join us next week for our live recording at 7 p.m. We'll be discussing Tales of the Empire and May the 4th fun stuff. So I'm excited for that one. We'll catch y'all on the next one.
Bye.